What's up, everyone? Shane Larson here with Scarlet and Great. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. That's probably where you're watching this right now, but make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're excited for Buckeye football like the rest of us. Subscribe to the channel, tag anybody in Buckeye Nation. Make sure they come over here and check this out. We want them here. We want them to be following us as we continue to build the Scarlet and Great empire, is what we call it. We want you guys here with us. So we appreciate you guys having us. This is Ohio State football with Scarlet and Great on YouTube. So appreciate you guys being here. And today we're bringing on Zach Smith from Minister Sports. Make sure to go check out Minister Sports on YouTube as well. Go check out his channel there. But Zach, we're going to be talking about some Buckeye football. So thanks for letting me bring you on here for the show today and chat a little bit about the football season that's coming up pretty dang quickly.
Absolutely, man. Always a pleasure. I'm excited to have a little conversation. I'm just excited for the season to be here, right? Like this off season is brutal, and I know you guys dive into recruiting and do a lot of great content. I just can't do it. I'm just ready for games and to talk about what's going on. So I'm excited to be here and excited for the season.
Heck yeah. So in regards to the season, Zach, so tell me this. We just got out of a pandemic. Well, okay, whatever you want to call it. But we just got through this season of like limited to zero fan base, right? The expectations are we're going to have fans. How much do you think that plays a role in a young athlete, a college athlete's performance, I should say?
I mean, I think you're going to get it on both sides, right? The kind of the seasoned veterans are going to have that amped up, that energy, right? That you get from the crowd, and on top of that, you're going to get when you go to Penn State or you go to those places that have unbelievable environments, you're going to feel the effects of that. And I think having a season without those effects paid, it definitely impacted games. And it's hard to say on which side, because you're going to have players play out of their minds because of that energy, and they kind of raise their level of play. Now, what you're also going to have is you're going to have some young guys, inexperienced guys that are going to pee down their leg a little bit when they get in those environments. And people think like, when they're at home, they'll be fine. I never thought that. Like on the road is definitely tougher, but for a young kid that hasn't played much to go out in front of the horseshoe, even though they're supporting him, like nerves are on 1,000. You know what I mean? So I think you're going to get both sides, and it's good. It's great, right? That's a part of the game that was taken away last year, and it's back. So it's going to impact. It's going to raise some levels of play, and some kids are going to feel the pressure. Especially inexperienced players.
Oh, totally. And to that point, what's interesting is those who are listening have to understand, they call me the Boise Buckeye for a reason. I'm over here at Boise. I'm a Boise State alum. So I'm used to like the Boise State football scene, smaller football, 30,000 seat stadium, 35,000 seat stadium. Let me give them some more credit than that. But 35,000 seats. When I went to the shoe for the first time, it was against Oklahoma 2017. Baker Mayfield torched us. We're at the shoe. It's my first time ever actually being there. I was blown away. It's literally more than 3 times the size of a Boise State stadium. So I can't even imagine as a young athlete, especially this Ohio State roster with the quarterback, right? The leader of the team is going to be young. Yeah. This is going to be their first college start, whoever it is. And so I'm right there with you. I think that's an interesting point. Bringing them in, even if it's a home game, it's a lot different than what they're probably used to, whether it's no fans, whether it's a high school stadium, whatever it is. It's going to be a whole new ball game. I'm excited for it, though, overall, just to have the excitement there, even if it was at limited capacity. I just think that you need to have fans at a game. It brings so much to it. And for Ohio State, it's about the culture. That's part of the culture. Buckeye Nation is there. That's part of the whole entire game day experience. But I want to kind of ask your opinion on this, Zach. You've had experience in the coaching field with receivers, especially. Like, you've been around a lot of it, right? But Ohio State's receiving core, we obviously know we've got an amazing receiving core, like athletes that are top of the line. Olave's back. I mean, Wilson's stepping up. Everything. Like we've got some solid receivers, but I've always been of the belief of your receivers are only as good as the quarterback that can get them the ball. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, and my point, case in point here, was Dak Prescott goes down last year. Andy Dalton tries to step in. If you look at the Cowboys receivers, they are stacked across the board. You can't tell me otherwise. Couldn't get them the ball. Yeah. Not saying that we can't get him the ball here at Ohio State, but I am curious your opinion on the quarterback situation, regardless of who starts. Who do you think is going to start? One, but like two, how will that impact the play calling? And do you think we'll be able to utilize our weapons at the receiver position?
So I think it's definitely, it's a great asset for CJ Stroud or Kyle McCord or whoever the quarterback is, right? And that's one topic that I think is just blown by, that CJ Stroud's going to be the quarterback. They still have all the training camp to figure that out. So whoever that guy is, it's an asset to have Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and the loaded receiver room first and foremost. But I mean, your point couldn't be more valid. You look at just the last 10 years of Ohio State football, when with great quarterback play, the receivers looked great, right? And Ohio State's never had bad quarterback play, but let's say subpar throwing quarterback play, the receivers have looked really average. And I mean, you're talking about some great players, some Curtis Samuels who just looked average, right? Noah Brown, who should have been a bigger deal in college, and not to make this a JT can't throw party, because he can. If you look at 2014, when JT had the different coaching staff on offense, he could throw the ball, and look what you saw. Michael Thomas looked ridiculous. Devin Smith looked ridiculous. Jalen Marshall looked great. Evan Spencer, so that is such an asset to have. And I think that when you're looking at this receiver group, let's not lose sight of the fact that Dwayne Haskins and Justin Fields were throwing to these kids, right? And they looked phenomenal. They played great. It's not to take anything away from them, but that's the question: is this quarterback, whoever it is, going to be on that level? That's a really high level. That's 2 first-round quarterbacks. Ohio State hasn't had first-round quarterbacks like ever. And so will they be that, or will this be kind of a down year before the heir apparent, right? The monster in waiting, Quinn Ewers, comes in. That's the biggest question mark on offense. I think their offensive line is going to be just outstanding. The receivers are talented, but will the quarterback put the ball in the right spot at the right time? Because receiver play is interesting. You can run a great route, do exactly what you're supposed to do, get separation. If the ball is not there exactly when it needs to be, that separation disappears. And then the ball's late, and it's like, man, that kid can't get open. It's like, no, he was open. The ball wasn't there when it was supposed to be. So there's so many details that go into it. I'm excited to watch it, but it's definitely going to be a different dynamic than we've seen the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, so that's what I'm kind of it's not necessarily a concern, but it is just a point of emphasis, I think, from all Buckeye Nation and what we need to be expecting. Yeah, we've got our receivers coming back. We're super stoked about that, but just keep in mind, you got to have some patience here. There's going to be some adjustments with the play calling. My opinion is I think we're going to see a little bit more out of the legs of the quarterbacks. Now, I know Ryan Day, at least last year, is a little apprehensive about letting Fields run the ball at times, and we saw why. Like he would get smacked, and he's a big frame. I'm curious, do you think that you're going to see, whether it be CJ or Kyle, whoever it is, do you think that they're going to be doing a little bit more of the read? They're going to be pulling the ball a little bit more to be a dual threat, a true dual threat. What do you think is going to happen? Or do you think they're just going to be relying heavily on the run game?
I mean, I know this, they now have the luxury, right, of being able to utilize that skill set that CJ Stroud has if he's the guy, because he's probably the one that's a really good athlete that can do that stuff and be dynamic. I don't think Kyle McCord is that guy. I don't think I know Jack Miller's not that guy. So if CJ Stroud is the guy, I think they can utilize some more of that. Now, Ryan Day's also not Urban Meyer, where he can develop a run game that is a true tailback-oriented run game. And with Travion Henderson, who I think is going to be an absolute monster, I think that's the route they go. They won't be nervous to run the quarterback, but I don't think Ryan wants to make that a big part of the offense. I think they'll let him do it, do some draws, some read stuff. But if he could develop, Ryan's known for developing quarterbacks. If he can develop whoever's the guy into a thrower, he'd much rather have that second option instead of a handoff be something to a skill player, right? Whether it's a slant, a bubble, something where Chris Olave gets the ball if Travion Henderson doesn't, right? And then you protect your franchise, right? Your quarterback doesn't have to face those downfield hits as a ball carrier. So I look for it to definitely be more prevalent in the offense, but I still think they don't want to do it a lot.
Yeah. No, I like that. And I think that's what we'll probably see. There's just so much. Now you're mentioning these names. There's a lot of veteran leadership there that we have in the receivers and stuff, and the offensive line is going to be awesome. But like Henderson, we've got, a new quarterback. There's some very important positions. We're very, very young. And I want people to understand that, yeah, the expectation at Ohio State is a little bit different than that I've seen across the country. Obviously come from Boise, but like, we got to remember, these are 18-year-old young men. You know what I mean? I won't call them kids, but they are young men, 18, 19-year-old young men. Think about us when we were 18, 19. Like, there's a lot of pressure on these guys' shoulders. So just give them, in my opinion, be patient. The coaching staff's going to work with these guys, and they're obviously like 4 or 5-star athletes for a reason. They're there. They're ready for the moment, I think. But we've got to be patient because it's a whole new ball game coming into the Big Ten, especially with Ohio State's expectations, their culture and whatnot.
And I'm going to tell you, you also have to look at, whoever, let's just say it's CJ Stroud, because that's who I think the political move is to make him the quarterback. He has to start his collegiate career at Minnesota. That's no cakewalk. On the road with fans, as we just talked about, and then come home, and his first home game is Oregon, and Oregon is not your typical home opener, right? So it's not an easy road. What was always nice was when you played Miami of Ohio or Bowling Green, or to kind of work through some of the kinks of it. And he's not going to have that luxury. But I do want to mention one thing that I think will be a difference maker for Ohio State this year, and is the best friend of a first-time quarterback or maybe an inexperienced quarterback is a tight end. And I think Jeremy Ruckert should be a Mackey Award finalist type of year. So I think whoever the quarterback is going to have the tools and have the friends, right? He has an elite tight end. The run game's always going to be great, but that start to the season is not going to be easy for whoever it is.
Now, that is to that point, and I'm not just talking about the quarterback. I'm talking about the team as a whole, okay, and the coaching staff and everybody's involved in this. Are there any, like those two games, do they concern you at all? Do you feel like that's a hiccup that we could potentially run into at the very beginning of the season? Do you think that's just going to be a tougher matchup and we have the personnel, we'll get through them, but it will be tough? Or do you feel like there could be a potential upset alert?
Well, I think there definitely could be an upset, because you have to look at this, right? We have a rookie quarterback, right? We have, I think, a stout offensive line. It's going to be a really good offensive line. We're going to have a good run game. Travion Henderson's going to be young. He's the only home run back, in my opinion, on the team. And the receiver group's loaded. Now, the question marks come with what's the secondary going to look like? The D-line's going to be absolutely nasty, as they always are. Kudos to Larry Johnson in recruiting, development, everything. But you look at the defense, you're breaking in all new linebackers, and your secondary was putrid last year. Yeah. So will that change? I blamed a lot of it on COVID. I blamed a lot of it on Kerry Combs having a dual role, coordinating and developing corners. And so I think a lot of those kinks have been worked through. You get Cameron Brown back from injury. Sevyn Banks should be, that next great corner at Ohio State. So Josh Proctor finally should become a household name. Like, so many things should happen, but it's definitely upset alert. Like, there's definitely a number of question marks that you're going to find out when they go play at Minnesota and come to Oregon. What changed? Is it the same? Now the upset's really possible. Has the secondary improved? Yeah, then probably not.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to, is that secondary. I want to see how they've improved. I think reps are important. I think they've got some experience. Proctor, angles, he needs to learn how to, just film and reps. It's going to help him with that. There was times that he overcommitted a million times over. I'm like, what are you doing? But I think that and I'm not saying that I could do any better. That I want everyone to understand that. I get it. This is it's high level football, but if they can work those kinks out, that's the big if. I'm terrified of that, to be honest, Zach, because I do worry that our offense will take a couple games to get a rhythm. Defense is usually what holds you up. They always say that. And I'm just worried about our defense being able to hold up, especially against two teams like Minnesota and Oregon. Granted, Oregon's going to be coming in with their own, stuff that they got to work out too. So I'll give them that. But Minnesota, they just got a little weird energy, a little row the boat energy, that's kind of like that, whatever, call it what it is, but they got a different energy, and it does concern me a tad. So those two games, you've already answered my other question about the secondary and what you expect from them. And it's kind of one of those things we're going to see if and you do expect them to get better. We'll see if they work those out with Coach Combs and everyone else too, getting their roles in the right places. I did want to touch base on this. This is a question I had written down because I wanted to just pick your brain anyways. Ohio State seems to have success in the passing game, in my opinion, just from, this is a very high level, we're talking 10,000 foot view of it. So maybe we'll get a little deeper, but they set their quarterbacks up for success. And in my opinion, that would work to our benefit because the quarterbacks are so young. But even with Fields, they'd set him up for success, rolling him out. They would roll him out, get the receivers in one-on-one coverages or in open space. And these receivers are fast. You give them, 4 or 5 seconds, they're going to get open. And it's typically an easier pass, so to speak. I say that with quotes. But do you feel like Ryan Day will continue on that, rolling his quarterback out, kind of shifting the line and going to the other side and giving him a couple of seconds for those receivers to get wide open? Because to me, that helped Fields get in a rhythm. It helped Haskins get in a rhythm to be able to throw the ball. So is that something that you've seen as a coach yourself, or am I just seeing this differently as a fan?
No, I think there's a time and a place for that kind of point of attack, right? And what Ryan, I've always felt that quarterback coaches should be the coordinators and really make the best head coaches, because the most important position is the quarterback, right? So everything should focus around the quarterback. Everything you do offensively should be around the quarterback, right? And Ryan does a great job of teaching and developing quarterbacks to understand big picture offense. And he's the best I've ever been around at that. He's actually the only one that I would say is great that I've worked with that taught that how to adjust protections to solve issues and then know your potential issues with the changes you made, right? Like there's so many details that he teaches and develops in quarterbacks that lets them be kind of their own best asset or their own worst enemy. But as far as movement passes and stuff like that, he'll definitely have a nice package of it and deploy it at the right time. I'm not in love with movement passes really because you limit yourself on the field so much. But he did a great job with Justin Fields, and he definitely will have that as his kind of settle him down package and maybe take a shot every now and then, or pass pros breaking down. He's a little rattled. Let's get him out of the pocket. Maybe he scrambles if nothing's there, get him running around and playing the game, And so I think he'll definitely have that in there. And it's really going to depend on what the quarterback needs, because that's everything he does is centered around what does the quarterback need? What is he good at? And how can he be successful?
I like that. And just as a reminder to other people who are listening too, we might be bringing up some concerns. And I think Buckeye Nation's probably like, what the hell, dude? Like, why are we bringing up all the concerns? Also, I think it works to our benefit in the sense that they don't have a lot of film on anybody. So like these other teams ain't going to be able to, especially Minnesota and Oregon at the beginning of the year, there won't be much to look at to be able to set up. So, it's not like they're going to be scheming for these young guys necessarily because they don't know what to expect yet. So we might be in a good position there too. You never know. It's one of those.
No doubt. And you get caught up in talking about like the question marks and concerns because those are the things that you're looking for, right? We already know Nick Petit-Frere and Thayer Mumford are the best two tackles in college football. Haskell Garrett's going to be an absolute monster. I mean, look for him at the end of the year when it comes to all these awards. And I mean, there's so many good things that you kind of just already have in the bank. You already know the tackle situation is in the bank. It's going to be A1A. So now you're just saying, all right, what next? What else?
Yeah, totally. So Zach, let's end on a positive note, right? Like, let's talk about the excitement of the season, what your expectations are from an exciting standpoint. One, do you think Michigan even stands a chance in the Big Ten? Two, what do you think Ohio State can this is very early on, but your early season predictions for Ohio State and how they finish this season?
I think they're going to have a really good year. I don't know if it's going to be a national championship caliber year. I mean, like we said, there's so many question marks that to be honest, they don't know. Nobody knows because training camp is where everything happens. And people that preview and predict things, sometimes it's like, you have no idea. You have no idea how much better that secondary is going to get until midway through training camp. You could be like, wow, they're going to be really good. Or man, this is still an area of concern. No one has any idea. It's all the process. Right. But I think the basement is certainly a Big Ten championship. I don't see a team in the Big Ten that can contend with Ohio State right now. I do think that Michigan is going to be a better version of themselves. And I do believe that the energy around the program is not a facade. It is a little late, but all this focus on Ohio State, the Ohio State game. I mean, they're training different. They're taking it seriously. I'm not here to predict an upset, but I think they're going to face a different team. And if you remember back when Michigan cared about the rivalry and when Ohio State cared, it was never about who was the best team. The best team on paper rarely won, to be honest with you. It was about who wanted it more. And it was a true rivalry game. And we haven't felt that since 2000, maybe 13, when you felt like this is a dogfight. Doesn't matter how good each team is. It's just a dogfight. And I think that Jim Harbaugh lost that. I think Brady Hoke had it, and I think Jim Harbaugh lost it. So I think that game's going to be different than it has been the past couple of years. And Ohio State fans need to get ready for the old school kind of war, right? And then when it comes to the landscape of the Big Ten, I think Penn State bounces back and is going to be a really good football team. That year last year was kind of, I just blame it on COVID, right? I'm not even going to hold it against them. But the two teams that I think are going to be much better, Indiana is, I think, the team in the Big Ten that is closest to contend with Ohio State right now. And then I think the team's going to have the biggest improvement is Maryland. I think people have completely discounted what Mike Loxley is capable of, what he did at Alabama as a coordinator, and the fact that he has Tua Tagovailoa's younger brother now running the show. I think that they're going to be much better than they were. And I think that when it comes time, I mean, luckily Ohio State has them at home, but I think that game is not going to be a cakewalk where you think, it's Maryland, we're good.
Oh, yeah. So there are some exciting games on the docket. I hope everyone's excited, man. I'm stoked, just like you said earlier, just ready for football season. It's coming up shortly, everybody. And I'm antsy because there are a lot of question marks, but it actually makes me excited because you just don't know. I'm excited to see what pans out. Yeah. So, Zach, I appreciate you joining us. Make sure to go follow Zach, Minutes to Sports, on YouTube. And again, if you guys haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and tag some of the rest of Buckeye Nation in here as we build the Scarlet and Great Empire. Zach, I appreciate your time, brother.
Thanks, Shane. Appreciate it, man.